The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Millie is a young, attractive woman desperately trying to hide her beauty and her dark past beneath baggy thrift store skirts and severe hair buns. Having spent 10 years in prison for manslaughter after beating a boy to death for sexually assaulting her friend, she is now living out of her 10-year-old Nissan, surviving on cheap sandwiches and facing constant rejection from employers. Her luck finally seems to change when she lands an interview at a sprawling, pristine Long Island mansion. There, she meets Nina Winchester, a wealthy woman in her late 30s who dresses exclusively in pristine white, though she struggles to hide her dark blonde roots and a faint double chin. Nina is erratic but enthusiastic, and she hires Millie on the spot to be her live-in housekeeper and nanny. Millie is obscenely grateful for a real mattress where she can finally stretch her legs, even though her new living quarters are highly unsettling. She is placed in a tiny, claustrophobic room in the finished attic. The ceiling slants so low she has to stoop. The single small window is painted shut, and, most disturbingly, the heavy wooden door features deep scratch marks on the inside and a lock that can only be fastened from the outside. Soon, Millie meets the rest of the household. There is Nina's husband, Andrew Winchester, a devastatingly handsome, wealthy businessman with dark mahogany hair, piercing brown eyes, and a charming, down-to-earth demeanor. Then there is Cecilia, their 9-year-old daughter. Cecilia is a pale, blonde, overly privileged child, forced to wear itchy, Victorian-style frilly dresses. She possesses a creepy, doll-like stare and immediately attempts to get Millie fired by falsely claiming she has a deadly peanut allergy after Millie makes her a peanut butter sandwich. Finally, there is Enzo, the rugged, muscular Italian landscaper with jet black hair, bottomless dark eyes, and arms covered in tattoos. Enzo barely speaks English, but on Millie's very first day, he locks eyes with her and whispers the Italian word for danger, pericolo. Life in the Winchester house quickly becomes a psychological minefield, primarily due to Nina's increasingly unhinged behavior. Nina leaves catastrophic messes, deliberately throwing food and milk across the pristine kitchen floor and forcing Millie to clean it up, while falsely accusing her of throwing away important PTA notes. Nina forces Millie to run tedious errands while secretly tracking her via a hidden app on Millie's phone, and even calls grocery store security to falsely accuse Millie of shoplifting just to torment her. Millie soon learns from neighborhood gossip that Nina allegedly had a severe mental breakdown years ago and attempted to drown Cecilia in the bathtub, resulting in a long stint in a psychiatric hospital. Discovering hidden antipsychotic medication in Nina's bathroom only confirms the rumors for Millie. Contrasting sharply with his wife's madness is Andrew. He is a saint who constantly apologizes for Nina's erratic moods, cleans up her messes when Millie is overwhelmed, and confides in Millie about his deeply unhappy, loveless marriage. He desperately wants more children, a dream Nina cannot fulfill. The undeniable, simmering tension between Millie and Andrew reaches a boiling point when Nina supposedly double books herself and leaves town, forcing Andrew to take Millie to use non-refundable Broadway tickets. They travel to Manhattan, share an incredibly romantic French dinner, drink too much wine, and end up sleeping together in a luxurious suite at the Plaza Hotel. For Millie, it feels like a fairy tale. She falls completely in love with him. The morning they return, Nina erupts into a violent rage, accusing Millie of stealing a pile of expensive white dresses from her closet. Having finally reached his breaking point, Andrew steps in, fiercely defends Millie, and coldly demands a divorce, ordering Nina to pack her bags and leave the house immediately. Nina storms out, shooting Millie a venomous, terrifying glare as she drives away. Believing she has finally won the life she deserves, Millie moves out of the creepy attic and into the luxurious guest room, fully expecting to become the new Mrs. Winchester. However, when she briefly returns to the attic to grab the last of her belongings, the heavy wooden door suddenly slams shut. The lock clicks. Millie is trapped. At this exact moment, the narrative seamlessly fractures, rewinding time to reveal the horrifying, hidden truth from Nina Winchester's perspective. Nina is not crazy. Andrew is a sadistic, calculating psychopath. Years ago, Nina was a desperate single mother whom Andrew swept off her feet, but immediately after their wedding, his true nature emerged. Andrew uses the attic room as a torture chamber, locking Nina inside for days to punish her for the most trivial infractions, such as letting her dark hair roots show or using too much air freshener. He tortures her psychologically and physically, blinding her with ultra-bright lights, plunging her into pitch-black darkness, starving her, and forcing her to pee in a bucket. To earn her release, he makes her perform agonizing tasks, such as plucking out 100 of her own hairs by the root or spraying herself in the face with pepper spray. When Nina finally tried to escape him years ago, Andrew drugged both her and Cecilia, placing the unconscious child in the filling bathtub. He timed it perfectly so the police would arrive to find a drugged Nina hovering over the tub, framing her for an attempted murder-suicide. Branded as criminally insane, Nina was locked in a psychiatric ward, ensuring no one would ever believe her claims of abuse. Realizing she could never leave him because he would eventually turn his tortures onto Cecilia, Nina resigned herself to a life of secret captivity. Her only ally became Enzo,
Enzo actually speaks fluent English and deeply hates abusive men because his own sister, Antonia, was murdered by a violent husband. Together, Nina and Enzo devised a brilliant, desperate plan to rid the world of Andrew Winchester. Nina specifically sought out a replacement wife who had nothing to lose and a capacity for extreme violence. When her private investigator uncovered Millie's prison record for beating a man to death, Nina knew she had found her weapon. Nina orchestrated every single miserable moment of Millie's employment. She deliberately acted like a manic nightmare to make Millie hate her, purposely pushed Millie into Andrew's arms, and faked the stolen dress incident so Andrew would kick her out. Before leaving, Nina planted a canister of pepper spray inside the blue bucket in the attic closet, praying that when Andrew inevitably locked his new girlfriend in the room, the hardened ex-con would do what Nina was too terrified to do: kill him. Back in the present, Millie is trapped in the sweltering attic. Andrew speaks to her through the door, his charming facade entirely gone, replaced by a cold, arrogant monster. He informs her that as punishment for leaving his books out of place downstairs, she must lie on the floor and balance 3 heavy textbooks on her stomach for hours. Furthermore, he reveals he is watching her every move through a hidden smart camera. Starved of water and in agonizing pain, Millie complies. But when Andrew finally unlocks the door hours later to gloat and offer her a single glass of water, Millie is ready. She pulls the hidden pepper spray from her pocket and unleashes it directly into his eyes. As Andrew screams and thrashes in blinding pain, Millie snatches his smartphone, slips into the hallway, and slams the reinforced door shut, locking it from the outside. Now, Andrew is the prisoner. Using his own phone to monitor the hidden camera, Millie watches him panic. She turns his twisted games back on him with ruthless precision. She denies him water and demands that if he wants to be released, he must balance the heavy textbooks directly on his own genitals for 5 agonizing hours. Driven to the brink of madness by excruciating pain and severe dehydration, Andrew begs for mercy, offering her millions of dollars. Millie ignores his pleas. When he finally completes the task, Millie changes the rules. She slides a pair of metal pliers under the door gap and coldly informs him that the only way she will unlock the door is if he uses the pliers to rip out his own teeth. Watching through the camera, Millie witnesses the wealthy, arrogant psychopath break down, sobbing as he places the metal grips around his teeth and pulls. He howls in agony, but Millie simply walks away, leaving him to suffer in the locked room. Days later, Nina returns to the silent house, terrified of what she might find. She ascends the stairs and unlocks the attic door, discovering Andrew's battered, lifeless body on the floor. He has died of profound dehydration, his mouth a ruin of missing teeth. Millie emerges from the shadows, still holding the pepper spray, paralyzed by the realization that she is going to spend the rest of her life in prison for murder. But Nina embraces her. She tells Millie to pack her things and run, promising to take the fall. Once Millie is safely away, Nina calls the police. She plays the role of the distraught widow, claiming she was home alone all week and that Andrew must have accidentally locked himself inside the storage room while looking for something. Detective Connors arrives to investigate. He is highly suspicious of the missing teeth and the severe bruising on Andrew's body, hinting that he knows the death was no accident. However, the detective holds a personal grudge against Andrew, who had cruelly destroyed the life of the detective's own daughter years prior. Because of this, the detective is more than willing to let the inconsistency slide. The case is officially closed at the funeral when Andrew's mother, Evelyn, approaches Nina. Evelyn is an immaculate, cold woman with stark white hair who never liked her daughter-in-law. Looking down at her son's bruised corpse, Evelyn coldly confides to Nina that strict dental hygiene was always her absolute rule in the house. She chillingly revealed that when Andrew was a child, she would punish his misbehavior by dragging him to the attic and pulling his teeth out with pliers. She murmurs that it is a shame he never learned his lesson, and she is glad Nina finally stepped up to remind him of the consequences of breaking the rules. Nina is left stunned, realizing the generational cycle of absolute sadistic torture that created her husband. Months later, Millie is flush with cash after Nina anonymously deposits a massive sum, equivalent to a full year's salary, into her bank account. Nina and Cecilia have moved to California to start a peaceful new life, while Enzo continues his landscaping business, keeping a watchful, protective eye out for Millie. Millie arrives at a stunning, modern home for a housekeeper interview. She is greeted by Lisa Killifair, a wealthy, immaculate woman with a flawless kitchen. Lisa is eager to hire her, noting that Nina Winchester highly recommended her services. As Lisa reaches for a kitchen knife to demonstrate something, her sleeve slips, revealing dark, violent, finger-shaped bruises gripping her upper arm. Millie stares at the bruises, and a slow, knowing smile spreads across her face. She finally understands why Nina sent her here. She looks at the terrified woman and assures her that she is definitely the right person for the job.